Hey boos, hope all is well. Welcome back to Ebony Brews. It's your girl Shahida. And today's suggested read is Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. The main characters' names are Hester Wyatt and Galen Vachon. Hester is a free woman during the times of slavery around 1858-1859. She's in her mid-20s and she's a member of the Michigan Underground Railroad. Galen is a biracial, in those times they called him mulatto. He's a biracial Creole who comes from money. He belongs to one of the richest free black families in New Orleans. But before we talk about them, I want to read a letter explaining how Hester came to be and how she became a free woman. September 7th, 1831. Dear Catherine, had I listened to your counsel, I might not be paying so dearly now, but it's too late. For the love of Francis Greeton, I have given up my freedom and am now a slave. Francis is expecting our first child around the new year, and Master Greeton has promised to keep our family together in exchange for my lifelong servitude. However, Francis fears his heir may not honor this if the child is a boy. We have agreed to try to send our child north to you, as no child should suffer the consequences of my choices. Your brother, David Wyatt. December 12th, 1833. My dearest Catherine, my worst fears have come true. Master Greeton was killed, and his son has broken his father's promise. Our daughter Hester has been sold to a man named Weston in the Sea Islands of the Carolinas. Find her, Catherine. Offer everything I own, if you must. Francis marked Hester by severing the tip of her left pinky to help you identify her. I leave all my Michigan properties, possessions, and wealth to you in Hester's name. Goodbye, dear sister. My love lives on in my sweet daughter. Your brother, David Wyatt. These letters are paraphrased in the interest of time, but also in this last letter in the book, David passes away, so he knows that he will never see his daughter grow up. I tell you, this is just the beginning of the book, and just from the letters alone, I was already in my feelings. So, her Aunt Catherine finds her and raises her to adulthood. Unfortunately, the Aunt Catherine passes away, and Hester continues to help others to freedom like she was taught. So the story starts out with conductors bringing an injured man to Hester's place, along with 5 other slaves. And her place is known in the community as a place for temporary refuge. She will give you shelter, food, and clothing if needed. And also she will help nurse your wounds if you have acquired them along the way. But this man was injured terribly. He was so bruised that no one could even recognize his face. One eye was shut closed, and he had broken ribs. He was also a big man, over 6 feet tall, so she had to summon for help because he was just too big to move. Hester would tend to the other fugitives, feed them, and send them on their way the next morning. However, someone told her that this injured man's name was the Black Daniel, and there was a price on his head, but she didn't care. She knew that she had to help him. This man wasn't able to leave with the others, so Hester fed and cared for him for almost a month. During this time, she came to know him as Galen and noticed he had a slight French accent. They developed an attraction for each other, but he was also convinced that there was a traitor in her town of Whitaker, Michigan. He felt this way because of the attack. It felt personal, and also that they knew he was coming. Once they were beginning to get acquainted, Galen would express his interest in her. He affectionately called her Indigo because of the permanent bluish stain on her hand, which came from her picking indigo plants, turning them into a dye, and coloring cloth as a young girl. He would occasionally flirt with her, and he would say things like, "I lay awake at night wondering if your kisses are still as sweet as I remember." Hester's eyes closed a moment, and her knees felt like water. "You are audacious," she whispered. "Not as audacious as I'd like to be, Indigo. Believe me. Hester. My name is Hester. Maybe for Frederick, not for me. For me, you are my petite Indigo." Frederick was her corny ex-fiancé. They would also go on long walks and make mud pies for fun. There is an actual recipe at the end of the book for mud pies. It's like a devil foods cake. Now, although Indigo was flattered, she didn't feel like she was worthy of Galen's love because of his fancy background and status. He told her one day, "You've no idea how you affect me." She'd say, "But you aren't in love." "Not with me." He'd say, "Why can't I be in love with you?" And she goes, "Because you can't be. We're from different worlds." He says, "Do you really believe I would care what society thinks about who I love?" "No, you probably wouldn't, but I do." He searched her face. "You think I would be ashamed of your past?" "Maybe not at first." He goes, "I'm going to pretend you didn't utter such nonsense." As a matter of fact, he feels like we're not going to have this discussion because it is unnecessary. Now kiss me so I don't become any angrier than I already am. Now, honey, if a man tells you we're not even going to discuss this, I love you and that's that, what you gonna do with that now? So this story is filled with twists and turns, yet the romance is a beautiful love story, even amid the challenges of a difficult period for Black Americans, a struggle that persists to this day. Indigo beautifully highlights the resilience of Black Americans, a strength that transcends the past, present, and future. So, let me know in the comments if this is a book that you'd like to read, or have you read it before? This has been published, I believe, since 1996. Hit the notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video. Like the video and consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Later.